Okay, I wanted to give a quick weather update. You can tell by how it looks, it's a bit windy here. Dew point here in Ogden is near 60 degrees right now. Temperature is just about 70. The moisture axis is trying to come forward, and right now, and I'm going to have an overlay with kind of the different things I'm looking at, model-wise patterns, and kind of what I'm seeing for the forecast coming up here. But right now, there's a line of storms and roaring wind behind me that is on the edge of this moisture plume. So it's running from roughly our Kansas City up to the southern Kansas City metro area right now. This may actually be a limiting factor for more robust severe weather, but there's some other conditional things that are happening that may make that a little different as well. When you're looking at kind of where it is right now, I'm going to show a satellite picture of what's going on, where the surface low's at, the line for that moisture plume and that more rich Gulf moisture coming up. The dry line is starting to sharpen out in southwest Kansas into the panhandle of Texas. The front is also sharpening as well. So I think the gradient is going to be a little tighter than what the forecast is, but there's a lot of cloud cover. That is the big limiting factor. So when you got marginal dew points, I mean, where I think storms will fire, the dew points are not going to be at 65. So what other factors do you need? We have a mid-level 700 millibar jet that's going to be coming over. That's going to kind of go through Panhandle, Texas, Oklahoma, and the southern Kansas. And we're already seeing evidence of that because some of those storms along that moisture plume are enhancing. But this is going to be a more linear mode, so don't expect a widespread tornado outbreak around this line of storms that's there right now. They're just heavy rain producers, small hail, some gusty winds. But as we get later in the day, there is, because of these clouds, a little bit of a cap over this part of Kansas into southern Nebraska. I am not entirely sure storms are going to fire along that warm front at this point, between the warm front and the cold front. It could, but it may not. But as this triple point tightens and kind of ejects east-southeast, it looks like the triple point's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of Milford Lake about 7 o'clock. And I'm going to show a few graphics in with a bunch of model feeds. So I'm going to be showing like the instability in the air, available convection to make storms. I'm going to be showing the significant tornado parameters, and then going to also look at the vertical wind shear. And the vertical wind shear one's important for a different reason. It's a way that I can see Boeing segments. So the part about the Ozarks later is going to come into play. That's going to be towards the end of this video because I'm going to kind of go in order. Isolated storms, possibly supercells, could form before sunset, but I think the chance of supercells, one down maybe near the Wichita area and then one Clay, Dickinson, Riley, Gary County in Kansas, would be closer to 7 p.m. So this is, we're looking at an after sunset scenario. I'm seeing a very consistent pattern, especially with the one that's going to move over close to Junction City, Manhattan. We'll have a supercell structure kind of showing itself in the various model data. Even though the convection, and it doesn't quite match up, it's close, but I'm seeing a pattern. And when I saw this pattern the last time, that was the only tornado back in January, I believe. That was the only tornado warned storm that came about, and that was near Joplin. So I'm going to rely on this pattern recognition and go with it because I think that's going to be the best shot. As those start to form, it's going to rapidly become a line along that along that cold front, and then it's going to be, there could be embedded tornadoes in the line. They're going to be brief but potentially strong. So there's not an easy way to predict that, but anywhere along the line where you get a little bit of that spin up, that's all it's going to take, because the shear and the helicity, the parameters you need for a tornado are definitely going to be there. The moisture is the only limiting factor, and we're not going to have that heating that we really need to see to really create a traditional severe weather outbreak in the Midwest. Now I'm going to pivot to the overnight side, and this is going to be towards the Ozarks. And there's going to be a graphic there when I'm looking at the vertical wind shear where I'm able to pick up what's been showing kind of the model runs of a Boeing segment. And I believe that's going to go over somewhere in the Branson area. It could be as far west as Kimberling City, Branson, Forsyth, but somewhere in that area. The pattern is pretty similar to the leap year tornado outbreak, and the timing is going to be very similar. So I think somewhere between midnight and 2 in Stone, Taney County, Missouri, there's going to be a Boeing storm that could be a tornado producer. I think that's the only storm I see that I'm seeing patterns on that has a chance. So I wanted to give that heads up. I don't think overall the tornado outbreak is going to be like, we're not going to see like 60, 70 tornadoes. It's probably going to be a few spin ups along the squall line as it enters the Kansas City metro area. That'd be like 9, 10 o'clock. 1 or 2 strong tornadoes in the Boeing segments down in southwest Missouri and the Ozarks. And then 1 or 2 supercells that could produce tornadoes in Kansas. And my current thinking, it's going to be after sunset for both of those, Wichita metro vicinity, El Dorado. It looks like a supercell is going to form somewhere in that area, so just be weather aware. And then up Milford, Tuttle Creek Lake area, and then moving east-southeast. A little note on that before I close. There is a, with the Republican Valley, where Manhattan's at, that what had prevented a more violent tornado back in 2008 was the Flint Hills and Conza Prairie, because the low-level jet was coming out of the south-southwest. So that didn't give the same rich flow. This time with the storm movement, the low-level jet is going to veer to an east-southeast direction if the supercell forms. That's going to maximize tornado potential going into Pottawatomie, northern Wabunsee County, going along the Republican River Valley, along the Kansas River. So this is where I think this is the sleeping giant of this particular outbreak. And so if that does form, I think that's going to be the best chance of a strong tornado somewhere between Clay Center and Abilene, and then go all the way east to just west of Topeka. I don't think it's going to upscale before that gets to Topeka. So I don't think we're going to be looking at a tornado going 80, 90 miles in that scenario. But we could see one going 20 to 30 if that does form. But again, the limiting factor is that moisture plume having thunderstorms along it is going to be a big limiting factor. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm still on the fence on storm chasing. My body is saying stay put. So gonna wait and see how that's gonna unfold. But yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I'm gonna try to post something later, and I'll do an update if I'm actually gonna do a storm chase if things look like they're gonna be more promising than they are before sunset.